Today I'm the lady in red, and for a special reason. Today's topic, today's resource for you as a parent and guardian is what are the topical issues you can start or think about, write about, and technically have a discussion when it comes to helping your child gain the life skills or things that are showing up in their lives faster than we think. So, in previous videos, which I believe I'll link up in this particular one, I had mentioned that if you're a parent to an 8-year-old girl, at that point, she should know that periods could show up in her life. And it's not just that. I realized that I mentioned that they need to be talked to about periods or menses, menstruation, that day of the month, that week of the month. But then I realized there's a gap. And the gap is, what exactly do you tell the girl? Is it that here are the essentials and sort yourself out? So I will just be giving you some topical issues, some topical areas that, number one, you can talk about one-on-one, and hopefully in not so conference-like, meeting-like. It's when you're having a walk and the rest. If you feel uncomfortable to have this conversation, because most of us, that did not happen, the other thing I am hoping you can embrace is write it down. It is another form of communication. You don't have to talk about everything verbally. You can communicate non-verbally and through writing. So by the time I was listing these areas down, I was looking at you as a parent or as a guardian. If the mother figure is not in, or you were never, is not around, or this was never talked to you, so you have no idea where to start. So these will be areas where you'll be like, by the way, what do you know about periods? You can start there, and they will know something, they may not know something, but at least you're beginning the conversation. And this needs to be done because, hello, all of us showed up through this process. Like an egg and a sperm met and they interacted, and we won the race and we are here. Whether as an individual, as twins, fraternal, and all that. So it's something that we should not be escaping, or we can't escape, because it happens every month and it is part of the human race, of how the human race gets here. So to keep a long story short, I'll be reading out those topical areas. So you as a parent, as a guardian, can list them down, and you can go one by one. You can write them down, like, by the way, okay, so what do I know about periods? You write it down. Or you have a conversation like today. I'll just talk about, let's just get the basics, okay? So, lady in red, it's just the earrings missing and everything else. Let us begin, if we had not already. So, this is all, or almost all, about periods, and it's not a one-off conversation. I'll be adding more as we move on, okay? So, kindly subscribe, share, like, please share this within the networks, because as you help somebody else, you're also helping your child, because your child will meet their child in this world, this let us just get to matters. Menstruation. Okay, so the girl, yes, they're in school, they're being taught about the biological changes. The boys are looking forward to, I don't know whether they're looking forward to the changes in their voice and everything. So you need to distinguish and tell the girl that there are going to be changes that they can see and changes they cannot see. So how do you start? There'll be changes of puberty that you can see. Number one, growth spurt, like udamea. I look at children nowadays and I'm like, why are you leaving me here? There's a growth spurt. And keep in mind, let them know that there's early bloomers and late bloomers. So and also genetics has a role to play. Let's not just say that you will grow. It's just that there could be changes in your height. If it doesn't happen, it's okay. Okay? Early, late bloomers. So it will reach a point where you need to talk to the girl about who becomes taller than all the boys in class, so as she does not slouch to fit in with the rest. So that's why you start the conversation now, so that when suddenly you are the tallest girl in the room, it is not something to be shy about or to be vulnerable about, okay? Now, Then we have the body changes or the body shape. So you'll have the what people may call the dashboard. The breast will appear, and this is where now you start looking at bras, brassieres, and basically they will need to be wearing either layered clothes, or they will need now to get them, I believe they're called boob tops. So these are some things that you may need to even buy in advance or see how do they layer, because they are the development may leave them to be targets of ridicule if you're not careful, because the boys are noticing, and even other girls. So if they're early bloomers, then you have to look for boob tops, or how do you layer so that you're still presentable even as you develop. Then the hips will change and the thighs, so you're just letting them know that by the way it's not bad and everything, okay? They wakai chonjo. Then hair in new places. So under the armpits and also at the private areas. These are most of this content is shared or taught to them in school, but at least if you're telling them, they also, it's not just textbook, it's also like, by the way, even for me, if you don't shave or if you shave, you can show them and all that. Not the private area, but I'm saying like for the armpits. Then you have skin changes. So your skin might get oily, you might get pimples or acne, you might get to sweat a little bit more. That means hygiene. And you have now roll-ons, deodorants and everything. You now have a conversation of, instead of her stealing your stash of very expensive perfumes or colognes, whatever you may be using, she has her own special stash, and I believe they are affordable, or those that you can get for her in advance, or as she needs them. So those are the changes that she can see. Now, what about the changes she cannot see? So there will be ovaries, fallopian tube, and the uterus. This I know also they are taught in school, but you're letting them know that, by the way, okay, at each month you have an interesting conversation of the eggs, and usually for the boys they want like an egg like this tiny, but it becomes a conversation of, okay, so each fallopian tube or each ovary releases an egg each month. Technically, sometimes it happens when both of them, and that's both ovaries produce at the same time, and therefore you have twins and all that. So it becomes a discussion of, oh, kumbe, that's how twins come in. So you see how this becomes a comprehensive conversation. Then you move on to now the main deal, which is menstruation, or what you call periods, or what you call menses, or that day, that week of the month. There are others who call it Shark Week. Like, everybody has their name. Like, it's danger. Like, you see that week, everybody runs away from you, which is also one of the things. But let's go step by step. So what is this thing called? Menstruation. By the way, unajua nini? What do you know about periods? So they will either tell you what they know, and they're like, they're shy and everything. So let it be a light conversation. And then now with this topic, you're like, okay, so it's a monthly cycle. Technically, like average. I know there are differences with the uniquenesses of human beings, but technically or average, a lady who gets their periods gets them monthly, and this happens when like every 28 days, like average is 28, give or take. So basically it's supposed to be happening monthly. Okay, number two, and then now you discuss why it will be happening. Now you go even deeper with matters of pregnancy, if you don't get pregnant, so that depending on the age, if you're not pregnant, if you have not used your, what do you call it, your what, contraceptive, because yes, there are those who are able to talk about contraceptives. So depending on your child's developmental age. So when may your period start? As I've said, and I keep repeating, if you have an 8-year-old girl, the years have gone lower. For us, it might have been when you are like 12, 16 and all that. But right now it is because of where we are, the culture, the way we are eating, the amount of light we are exposed to, and so many other things. So at 8 years, your child, 8 years in Kenya will be around grade 2. So at grade 2, your child could be starting their periods. So that's why this conversation is very important, so that it's not a shock like, why am I bleeding? Am I sick? Am I anemic? Or which is another thing, but when they spot on their underwear, on their panties, they are not supposed to be too shocking. If you remember your own experience, may not have been the best. And if you're able to help your daughter to navigate that phase, it's the best thing you can do. Because there's never, once they start, there's no going back to it. Like, you cannot say, okay, well, the next, that's the first one. And that shock is usually a little bit, if you're unprepared, can be quite unsettling. So when my period starts, it may start as early as 8 years or even later. So remember, early bloomers, late bloomers. Then how long does it last? You can mention that average is between 3 days to 7 days. If it goes beyond 7 days, then especially if you have been having periods for a long period of time, wordplay, that needs to be attended to. But at the beginning of your menses, of your periods, when your body is getting used to, okay, this cycle, like hormones and everything, it can be irregular. So how do you keep track? Which is another thing. How do you keep track of when your period began, and so that you can anticipate when the next one is, which is like 26 days, 28 days, it depends. And now this is where you mentioned, by the way, if you travel to you are a different place, like maybe you are in a cold area and then you move to a hot area, like you're in Nairobi and then you travel to Mombasa, something changes. It could be about the diet. It could be you're living with other girls, or like maybe hostel and everything, and then your cycles they sync, like you all have your period at the same time. So this is when you have a discussion of, by the way, Kachonjo, it's not always 26, it's not always 26. So that they should not just be going to the calendar and saying on the 26th of March, 26th of April, 26th of, that's not what happens. If you are sick, if you have traveled, if you have eaten, like, umekula sana, or if you're not eating well, you are stressed, and there are so many things that interfere with the cycle, but there's almost a predictable pattern of which is the best way they keep track. Way back when, I remember I was using a calendar, like you'd use a calendar, or you'd like jot down on a book like which day. Now what they need to do is, like, if they're able to have a small notebook where they can jot down, like, when was their heaviest day. Most women, ladies and women, they have their second and third as their heaviest days. But remember, it is not generalized. Every girl, every lady, every woman experiences it differently. There are those who have very heavy periods. There are those who are like, after 3 days, they are done. Clearly, the Lord has favorites anyway. That was just on a light note. And then there are those who for 7 days, you are ukochonjo. Then at this point is where you let them know that, by the way, even though it may be going for 7 days or 5 days, they should not just go back to wearing white on the 6th day, because there are some remnants that refuse to leave the body, and then they spot and things can go a little bit messy. So they keep track, and then they get to see their pattern, and then they will know when do you carry extra pads. If you're able not to travel on that day, if you're able to, like, you just put checks and measures, because on your heaviest day is not the best time to be up and about. If you are just all nice and cuddled somewhere, or even under a shower, and just everything is done. So how does a menstrual cycle feel like? And this is where you explain to them that terms and conditions apply. You can have mood swings, like you will be on top of the world 1 minute, and the next minute you want to kill everybody that even looks in your direction. Then the next minute you just want to eat crisps, Fanta, chocolate. And that's why you even have the trends on TikTok, like when your girlfriend is on their period. So you just see guys going, woo, flowers. There are those of us who will not want flowers. There are those of us who will not want chocolate. And also, those snacks or whatever your body is craving may not be the best, because you might feel bloated. And eating salty things means you're retaining water, of which your body is already retaining water, and you get more bloated. And you might think you have diarrhea, but you don't, because your body, the same way it's having cramps, it messes up with your intestines and everything. Those hormones and everything mess up with the digestive system. So going to the loo is you think you have food poisoning, but it's not. So it is different for everyone. So you talk about pimples, like, by the way, how does your body tell you, get ready, my dear, get ready? So it might be pimples, it might be a headache, it might be mood swings. You're like, okay, why am I feeling this way? And I was okay, and then right now I'm almost about to be committed to the judicial system and everything else. So you have cramps, being bloated, you have tender breasts. There's those who do that. Then emotions, and so you talk about how does it feel like. So these are the where you say, like, for me, A, B, C, and D, and therefore I do this, I eat this, I drink this, I avoid this. So you have a conversation. And then last but definitely not least, you have a conversation of what to wear. Now, what to wear is like the sanitary products plus the clothes. So sanitary products nowadays, they are pads, tampons, menstrual cups, period underwears, and we usually have panty liners, especially even on the other days when you're not having your menses, excuse me. So what do they need to wear? And then which one works best? Depending again on the age, you don't start shocking the child with too much information about menstrual cups, because at that point, they may get to menstrual cups later. So you're talking about pads, you're talking about tampons, terms and conditions apply, which one is best. When it comes to if you need to go swimming, there are those who prefer tampons because they're able to swim, they're able to run comfortably, but maybe at night you will need to wear what do you call them, the sanitary pads. How do you wear them? Do you need to put a blanket on top of your beddings when you're going to bed? Because terms and conditions usually apply at night when you're trying to have a good night's sleep and your body is thinking otherwise. So here, and then now when it comes to clothes, dark clothes are your friend, dark underwear is your friend, comfortable underwear is your friend. When you're on your periods, try not to have so much tight fitting jeans, skinny jeans, because that area needs to breathe. Then you have carry spare clothes, like trouser if you're able to, or something like a dress which you can fold, but most of the times it is carry the innerwear, the underwear, and if you have biker or something of the sort. So how do they carry that? The extra pads, how do they carry that? Of which is a topic we'll look into. How do you have your emergency kit? And then you have wet wipes, and then you have toilet paper or tissues. If possible, have your jacket. And if you're wearing dark clothes, because it will be hard to spot just in case things get messy. But if you have like a jacket or a shawl, like, you're okay. And then you see how best to navigate that season. So as not to keep this too lengthy, it's already quite lengthy as it is. Those are just some of the topical issues that I was hoping will shed light on. How do you begin this conversation about menses, periods, menstruation, that week of the month? And yes, it is a little bit difficult to share with an 8-year-old girl, but as I'm saying, if it's difficult, it's okay to write it down, and then you give it to them. They're able to read in silence, and then if they have questions, they can jot it down. It becomes a way of communicating. And as I put in one of the videos about family meetings, if you're not able to have family meetings because of the dynamics and everything, you're still enhancing connection and communication with your with your child, not sibling, with your child. So you can have aunties, you can have the girls around you, right? The ladies, the women around the girl who you're trying to empower, to write down like what were their experiences and what to look out for. What is a care package that they can put in place, so that they're okay, or they are at least, if that day shows up and they are in the office, they are in school, if they are out on a trip and everything, how do you ensure that you at least have something to help you out? And the other thing is, when it comes to this, whispering to a lady like, do you have extra pads? So always, even carrying extra, even though you're not on your days, is always a plus, especially when a lady comes your way, or a girl says, by the way, I need my days have begun and I need some help here, and you help them out. At least that moment is relieved until they sort themselves out. So I'm hoping this was insightful. If you have any questions, kindly just list them down in the comment section, and then I will pick and and help you, guide you through this process. So I'm hoping to see you in the next video. All the best in whatever you're undertaking, especially when it comes to parenting and child development. Okay? So I'll see you soon in the next video. Bye-bye.